KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk.
Well, welcome along then to the second round of the British RaceRoom Championships Touring Car Challenge, brought to you by Cobra Motorsport. We are here in the sunny West Kingsdown in Kent for the historic Brands Hatch circuit, running the Indy layout. You can see there the pre-qualifying times topped by Jack Keithley, a 10th clear of Chris Shepherd, both taking the Audis in that one, and both here today in the Audis as well. Myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me as it was last round, Cameron Rodgers, after an absolutely thrilling opener to the season. Cam, we're expecting the same kind of stuff here.
Yeah, this is only 1.95 kilometers, so it's absolutely hectic. All action. There's really only 4 corners that you actually have to think about, so it's just going to be constant action. Drivers so close together, and that is what we always get around these tight and twisty touring car tracks.
Of course, we are already, once we're done here, halfway through the season. Of course, 3rd of May today. And then in a week's time, 10th of May, Silverstone International rounds out the calendar, of course. Same time back here. It's going to be an incredible final as they're all racing for the championship to go and get themselves a Cobra seat, which is the prize for the top position of the championship. There you can see the entry list for today. So we've got Jack Keithley, of course, well known across racing competition, topping the sheets. Matt Richards, championship leader, only qualified down in 7th position. Still a pretty decent time considering he's not really a pre-qualifier. The Audi is going to be very, very strong here today. Of course, they are locked into their car choices from the previous round. So those that chose the Lynk & Co last round, they are locked into that this round. They have to hold that for the entirety of the season. Rich Miles in P12, not here today, unfortunately feeling a bit under the weather, so we wish him well on a recovery. And of course, you can see our pro drivers, same as last time. We've got Dan Cammish, we've got Josh Webster, Rob Oldman, this time though joined by James Cross, Alex Hodgkinson, and Daniel Robotmy is actually here this time. This is a good sign. He is actually in a Lynk & Co as well, which was a bit of a guess on my part. But qualifying's about to begin. Everyone's on track at the same time. It is tight out there, Cam.
I'm sure you're going to see all these drivers bumper to bumper. But we might as well have a look at the standings as they do their outlap. And it's Matt Richards who's leading the championship by only 3 points from Rob Cross, and then a further 10 points back to Daniel Herlog. And then the midfield is getting quite tight as well, so there's still plenty to play for as we still have 6 races left this championship.
Of course, the format for the day, same as always. So we do this 10-minute qualifying session. Slight difference in the sense that we're going to take a 3-minute warm-up between the races and stuff, because it was a little bit too intense 1 week ago. Look at how intense it is out there. Then it is followed by 3 races, the qualifying session. So each race 20 minutes long, and each followed by a top 10 reverse grid. A man who started from the front row in the top 10 reverse grid last time was this man, Mr. Dan Cammish. Didn't unfortunately win that race, but I do believe he got a top 5. Had some excellent moves across his run. This time we've got the camera positioned more of a frontal angle. We can see what he's doing with his footwork. So another good work from those guys, and it's good to see Cammish back out on the grid. We'll now rebrand it Dan Cam because that makes a bit more sense. Cammish Cam was a good guess, but Dan Cam, nice logo as well. Good shout.
Yeah, so awesome rig he's got set up there as well. So it's really good to see these drivers getting involved as they start their qualifying laps. And remember, as soon as the time hits 0, that is it. We don't wait for them to finish laps. They have to get their lap time in by the time that hits 0. So they've only got just over 8 minutes left. Although the good thing here is that it is a really short lap, so you can get your laps in straight away. It looks like we got Everett getting straight. Oh, sorry, Keithley getting straight to the top, followed by Matt Richards, but 0.2 of a second. So Keithley showing his pace straight away.
Yeah, where Matt Richards fired in an absolutely barnstorming pace setter back in the early phases of Silverstone. This time, 0.2 clear goes the way of Jack Keithley, who is, at least for the first race, the overwhelming favourite. Because his experience and stuff in RaceRoom is sort of expected to put him head and shoulders above the rest. But with how the races are, with the top 10 reverse grid in race 2 and in race 3, that's going to throw all of that into the fan. We've got Keithley here. We saw Cammish just go into P13, picking up a bit of slipstream is Jack Keithley. I'm not sure who that is. It might be Rob Oldman, who is picking up slipstream 4. Doesn't improve his time though. But those at the top, by the way, so the top 2 in the championship being Matt Richards, who's in 2nd position, Rob Cross, who is in 5th at the moment, 2nd in the championship going into this. Josh Webster's putting a good time there up to P4.
Yeah, that's good. Looking good, bit good for Matt Richards as well, because he was quite a way down in the practice session, but that's just how close these times are. As you can see, half a second covering the top 14 cars here. So it's really close. If you make a tiny mistake, you would literally drop down about 10 positions if you're a bit unlucky.
Yeah, it all comes down to the picking up the slipstream around here. Like Cammish at the moment, I've seen is driving around by himself. Everyone else is sort of running in the pack, and that's really, really good for them because they're obviously picking up slipstream all the way around. If you're running by yourself, sure, you don't have traffic. That is very handy, but having the slipstream around a circuit like this is going to be absolutely crucial as we watch Josh Webster go through Paddock Hill. Very, very difficult corner. I've seen a few cars. Oh, I think that's Rob Oldman who's gone off in the foreground. Could be, is it? It's James Cross. Okay, it's one of the Cross confusion. That'll be something that's going to throw us out. Of course, we've got James Cross here joining us. Then we've got Rob Cross. Here we go, 2nd in the championship. We've also got JJ Ross. So Cross, and Ross.
We'll try our best to get them right. Unfortunately, I believe they're actually in different cars and maybe in different liveries as well. As we've got Jack Keithley here, purple in Sector 1 and Sector 2 as he comes across the line. Can he extend his lead at the front and get anywhere close to his qualifying time? Yes, 48.0, and his qualifying time was a 47.9, so only 1/10 quicker, and that was with a lighter car as well due to the balance of performance that we've got in action.
Exactly. Now, the important thing from that, by the way, and this is how I really want to hammer home how impressive that lap time is because, yes, I know he had slipstream, fair enough, but had he done that time in the pre-qualifier to get into this, that would still have been the top time because Shepard did a 48, I think it was a high 0, it might have been, I think it was a very, very low 1. So that is a monster lap from Jack Keithley. Dan Cammish gone wide at Paddock Hill, up towards Druids. I've seen a few people clip this curb on the inside of Druids, and it has rolled them, so we'll keep an eye out for that in the race. Here's Daniel Hurlock, this time joined by good friend Ryan Elliott, who's managed to make it onto the grid this time. Couldn't do it last time, but needless to say, he is here. I think he got he finished 2nd in the last race. Not sure who he's just boffed off at turn 1 there. That is James Cross. But yeah, I think had a runner-up position to Rob Cross in the final race at Silverstone National. Definitely one that's got some decent pace in him. Now joined by Ryan Elliott, who's currently in 3rd position. Should be a good lineup as Chris Shepard's gone to 2nd.
And just look how close they are, 2nd, 3rd and 4th, with thousands of a second separating them. And even if you look back to Cross in 5th place, he's only a couple of hundredths back as well. So that is just like an absolute blink of an eye. You just turn in slightly too early, slightly too late to a corner, maybe slide a little bit too much, and then that is just how you could lose those fractions of a second. But as you say, Chris Shepard up into 2nd. He was very quick in the first race of the season, but he was kind of in that sort of pack just behind the leaders, never really got involved for the race win. But maybe that is his day to get a good result here.
Yeah, we just saw Matt Webb, who was maybe a bit shocked as to how the Alpha was, still qualified it very, very well back in Silverstone. I feel that car could do some good things here at Brands Indy. Dan Cammish down in 17th position. I wouldn't be too worried about Cammish's current time because he did qualify quite low back in Silverstone. Goes to 7th on that time, though, so very, very impressive. But he did qualify quite low, raced his way up the order, got himself into the top 10. And if you can get into the top 10, like I said, that is what reverses you to the front of the field. Currently, though, we've got 3 pros in the top 10, because we've got Cammish in 7th, we've got Rowbottom in 9th, and we've got Webster in 10th. It's an impressive run from those 3.
Yeah, and they're certainly getting quicker, the professional drivers, in all these events that the professionals are getting involved in. It seems that as the weeks go on and more events happen, they're getting quicker and quicker. It's always good to see them getting towards the front of the field, because obviously these people, especially like Jack Keighley, he's been here for years. Multiple different simulations, tons of experience for probably a decade that he's been doing this, so he knows exactly what he's doing. But these other people are sort of learning and getting a grips with it, and they're certainly getting closer.
Absolutely. You say of these the real world drivers getting quicker, absolutely was shown earlier in the day in the DTM Esports opener, where Nico Muller took victory as well, of course a real world driver. Fantastic to see the real world drivers coming in and taking it seriously. We saw some really incredible racing last time. A lot of respect from those real world drivers joining the grid and showing the respect that these sim drivers do deserve. Chris Shepherd improving on his time, but has to do a lot more to improve in position. I think he improved by 0.05 of a second there. Did Shepherd, still to second. Carry on.
I was just going to say, wow, big improvement by Shepherd. Because, yeah, basically the exact same lap, but he's still solidating his place. And as we've seen, those thousandths of a second, those hundredths of a second is really what is judging some of these positions. Even if you look down to sort of 8th and 9th, Webb and Rowbottom as well, they're only a couple of thousandths apart. And that is what they really need to focus on. Is they've only got a minute and a half left, so they really need to be starting their laps in the next 30 seconds or so, otherwise they will not be able to complete them.
Yeah, like you say, as soon as that time hits 0, that's it, session is done. So a lot of these drivers are actually starting their final timed lap. Josh Webster, I think he also improved a little bit, but again, by too small of a margin to improve. So holds 11th position. Daniel Rowbottom on the final positions of the top 10. Your pole sitter, of course, Jack Keighley by 2.5 tenths, clear of everyone else. It's more important to me with that battle for the top lot in the championship, because Chris Shepherd, he's in the Audi today, the more favoured car, realistically today. He's only 5th in the championship, so he's pretty close to the top end. And with Matt Richards maybe qualifying down in 4th position, still improving as he comes across the line. Is there going to be an improvement in position? No, there is not. So 4th position is as good as it gets for Matt Richards. Still a pretty decent time in that Lincoln Co at the moment. Whoa, Jack Keighley doing a little bit of a gymkhana event at the final corner.
Right, yeah, that's what the front wheel drives. Obviously, yeah, the rear's all over the place. Sometimes if you get a bit of a slide, they just have to keep that power on as you come to the final 20 seconds or so. So let's see if anyone can challenge the higher up positions. What Chris Shepherd finishing his final lap there, though I don't believe he actually improves just yet. Who else we got coming on some personal best? We've got Hodgkinson. He's down in 22nd place, 9 tenths off the pole position at the moment as he comes all the way to the line. It's quite a long run to the line here, as we saw in Silverstone. So there might be some slipstreaming and some overtaking to the line, although I believe that is the end of your qualifying session.
Indeed, of course, Alex Hodgkinson. We'd expect more from you, Hodgkinson. You know, you should be setting times as you help build these cars. Come on, step it up. But either way, a very convincing pole time there from Jack Keighley. So we're in a nice 3-minute warm up, so we can actually have a breather and talk about that qualifying session. Unlike last time where we were rushed straight into the race. So thankfully, that has been slightly adjusted. So everyone's going to sort of go out there. Realistically, fuel-wise, it's not so important because we don't do that. But it's more about setting laps consistently in the session, where like you've just done a session where you're pushing as hard as you can. This is all about pushing within the boundaries of the race surface. So we've got Robert Oldman, who is currently on screen. Of course, he very, very popular in the community last time out. We had a lot of people come in and join, so thank you everyone who's a Robert Oldman fan who's come in to join. SEC Performance is where he comes from. I think it was something to do with a tuner of a Ford Fiesta of some description. I'm pretty sure James Cross comes from the same sort of background. So it's a bit of a head-to-head between Oldman and James Cross, as far as I've been told. Of course, we've got Dan Cammish and Dan Rowbottom. That was did he forget to brake?
Who knows?
He had a bit of fun there. I can tell you that. Here's Dan Rowbottom, of course, British touring car driver. Same with Dan Cammish, so a bit of a head-to-head there as well. Josh Webster, we spoke last time, of course, taking part in Porsche Carrera Cup GB, so following the same kind of footsteps that Dan Cammish has already gone through. Previously has taken part in Porsche Super Cup in general. And of course, Alex Hodgkinson, the other of the pro drivers, joining us. I must say, big respect to him for taking the Cupra. The Cupra was the car that I took when I attempted, hilariously, for some reason, to do the WTCR Esports. I think I was in like server 3 at Hungary. I was very bad. But the Cupra, a good choice. Nice to see a bit of a change from some of the pro drivers. To why not use the time to pick a car that no one else is using?
Well, yeah, sometimes that could be your advantage as well, because if everyone's taking the same car, you might as well do something different. They are pretty close in general. I mean, as you saw, the times are fairly close. Tons of different manufacturers out there, so you might as well do something a little bit different just to see if you can get an edge, maybe on a certain part of a track or even a certain track in general.
Yeah, well, I mean, around a circuit like this, you kind of want the car that's the quickest in the straight line, which I'm not so sure the Cupra is, but nevertheless, it's going to be hard for these drivers to overtake, and the championship is so very, very close. I think we might see a bit more rough and tumble here than we did last round. Last round, everyone was very, very well behaved. In fact, there was only one penalty last round, which across 3 races of that intensity, one penalty is really incredible, to be honest. And that did go the way of JJ Ross. So, but to be fair, I wouldn't really fire any shots that way, considering how intense the races were. Got an email, by the way, from JJ Ross earlier. So any JJ Ross fans out there, apparently takes part, or did take part at least last year, in Renault Clio Cup Europe, which is a support race for Formula One. Got a second place at Hockenheim. So maybe technically another pro driver for us to have. There is Dan Cammish.
And as you said with the penalties, that's because in Silverstone there was places to overtake. There were straights here. It's so tight. Obviously, Druid's turn number 2. We're going to see probably a lot of bombing of cars down into that corner. So I have to look out for that. And also the final corner, if you can get close to someone through the chicane as well, then that's always a place to overtake. But it's a little bit more tricky here. So I think there's going to be a few more interesting moves. Let's put it that way, and a few more opportunistic moves than we potentially saw in Silverstone last week.
Indeed. Well, fourth race of the season here at Brands Hatch, the first race of today, and who is going to be starting it from the best? Of course, we've got Jack Keithley currently on that pole position as we are underway here at Brands Hatch. That very short run up towards Paddock Hill where they fling right, and downhill is very, very tricky. It's pretty single file, but we'll try some around the outside. It's going to be Keithley leading away from Shepherd and already running away with it. In the background, we've got the 2 Lincoln Co's of Matt Richards and Ryan Elliott, who have raced each other plenty of times over the last few years, going pretty close. Who's that going around the outside in the background? It's one of the Hyundais. I think it's Daniel Hurlock trying to stick it around the outside at Druids, picking it up, coming down towards Graham Hill. There's Dan Cammish. Oh, nearly a little bit of contact from Matt Webb in that lone Alpha behind. Everyone goes single file, and I think, touch wood, I think we've got away safely, Cam.
Yeah, that's been pretty good. They managed to get through that first couple of sectors of the lap really safely. It's always good to see. They do have 20 minutes race here, so that is what they're really looking out for. Try and getting to the end of the race in the best shape possible. Remember, the top 10 is the reverse grid, so you need to make sure, especially if you're in like 11th, 12th position, that you're battling as hard as you can to get inside that top 10, and then you'll be able to start at the front of the next race. Indeed.
Well, I mean, Jack Keithley started the race in the best way that he possibly could. There is a tight battle for the bottom ends of the podium. It's a surprise to me to see some Lincoln Co's there, but JJ Ross hovering in the background, maybe a little bit hungry to move his way up. With the 20 minutes that we've got, we're expecting to be about 24 laps. Here goes Ben Walker down the inside. I think that's of Dan Kell, going to escort him off the exit of Graham Hill. And so now he moves up to 16th. Dan Cowell down to 17th. I know he won't be happy with that because he says that he was all right at this circuit. Josh Webster on the fringes of maybe getting himself towards the top 10, but having to defend as well from Daniel Miles and Daniel Rowbottom. Daniel Miles, the only one of the Miles brothers here, as Rich is recovering, like we said earlier. And here's Dan Cammish.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a gap ahead of him, but he's got Webb all over the back of him, and this is what we were talking about. Drury's Bend is a really good braking zone down the inside, the only proper braking zone on the actual track, and Webb's actually going to keep it down on the inside, but can he? No, he couldn't quite get his front nose alongside, so he's going to have to wait for another couple of corners, but that is really the best overtaking opportunity on the track, as it is a proper braking zone. You can send it down the inside, but you do need to get your car alongside, otherwise you're just going to spin your opponent.
You'll see a couple of drivers, if they're close enough, where people drift wide here. You'll see this. They go like slightly far to the left. There we go. Oh, nearly a perfect example of what I was talking about. As they go slightly too far out, the desperate lunge down the inside into clearways is a pretty common touring car tactic. Of course, I'm sure Dan Cammish is aware of it. Having won at this circuit, I believe 3 times. Of course, it was the GP circuit that he took his first British touring car victory at a couple of years ago. Did back-to-back victories that day. I think he won there maybe last year. I don't remember. It was a while ago. But nevertheless, it's pretty strong at this venue. And so I'm pretty sure he knows the overtaking tricks. Matt Webb, though, pretty desperate in that Alpha to try and find any way through. Look at that at the front, though. Keithley's gone. He's checked out.
He's got the pace, hasn't he? He is showing everyone how to do it. But he will have, obviously, if he does have a nice comfortable victory here, he will obviously have that weight penalty, and he will have to start further back. So it's not going to be quite so easy in race number 2 for Jack Keithley, but it's certainly looking like he has got the pace of the field here today.
We're currently looking at this battle for 15th place, I think. Oh no, we've gone back up towards Rob Cross. This battle at the bottom end of the top 10. Rob Cross looking down the inside on JJ. We've got Herlock as well, trying to fling it around the outside beautifully of turn 1 as JJ just backed Rob Cross. Is Herlock going to try and make it 2 corners in one go? Oh, he's going to bang down the inside. There's a little bit of contact between the two. Oh, it's just a little bit of rubbing, but that's absolutely fine, as Herlock's going to try and stick it around the outside of Graham Hill. You can use quite a lot of this runoff, but it's just not very quick around the outside there. And Herlock goes 2 in 2.
That's absolutely amazing. Opportunistic as we now got Cross following through as well. So that's an amazing move there by Dan Herlock. Pretty good. And that is that 2-3 complex that is so good of getting down the outside, and you generally just get enough of a run down to turn 3 to make that stick. And that is 2 moves for Herlock in the space of 1 lap. And now he can really push forward to potentially get Matt Richards as well. But he's looking feisty. He's currently 3rd in the championship, 13 points behind Matt Richards, the leader at the moment.
Yeah, what was that about Druids? Is the only corner you can do some overtaking at? Dan Herlock thinks otherwise. He has had a fair amount of racing this circuit, as Herlock, having taken part in various touring car racing on other sims over in RF2 over the last couple of years. Runner-up in a championship to me once. But does have some decent experience around the circuit nonetheless. Looking backwards from Dan Cammish, still trying to defend from Matt Webb, who's going to throw it down the inside at clearways. Oh, that was an aggressive move. Pretty clean though, but that cutback from Dan Cammish, patient as ever, gets that cutback done nicely and holds on to 8th position. Look at that. He's you can see he's almost a little bit flustered by that. Almost.
Yeah, Webb just went in far too quick. Couldn't keep his car down on the apex, but potentially on the next time he tries that, if he can keep the car on the apex, he might be able to make it work. And he's going to look into so soon now. He's going to have to go round the outside, but we saw the outside can actually be quite good if you can keep around the outside, because then you have the inside for turn 3, but not on this occasion. Because that is obviously the longer way around, so you do need to carry a lot more speed, which is quite difficult to do in these cars, especially when you're trying to balance the throttle coming out of the corners as well. As we now come through the chicane into clearways, and this is where we saw him last time, but he's actually going to try and go round the outside, and once again he goes too wide, and that is going to allow another car to come down the inside. That's William Foyle, who's now up into 9th place.
Yeah, it was a pretty easy move, just an easy mistake to make. Going to try and maybe go down the inside of Paddock Hill, potentially. We ride on board. This is on board with the Alpha of Matt Webb, looking towards Foyle. Going to pick up some more speed, though, through Paddock Hill. Maybe going to dive down the inside, not feeling comfortable with it. The only way you can really make it stick around the outside here is if the concertina effect comes into account. So you actually hang it around the outside because they're going far too slow. He's going to try and pick up the inside into Graham Hill, though, as we saw Herlock try and go around the outside here earlier. I think the advantage would go the way of the VW here, and it certainly looks like it's going to pick up a bit of slipstream from Dan Cammish, and Foyle holds on. Matt Webb still going to have to hang on to 10th position. Going to go straight down the inside. inside though. Oh, a bit of contact between the two, a bit of a rub as they head through the final corner at Clearways. Now they're going to be side by side in the start-finish straight. Cam, this is madness.
Yeah, for the first time he managed to make the apex in that corner, but he's using another car to do so. So a little bit rubbing his race in there. And he's actually got the inside down into Paddock Hill Bend as well. So that's 8th place there for Matt Webb in the sole Alfa Romeo on the field. And now just behind them we've got Webster batting coming down into turn number 2. Is that Daniel Miles down the inside. And Webster's actually gone too far, too deep. Oh, who's that spun around? Alex Hutchinson. Yeah.
I wonder if that was of his own volition or if someone's helped him. I did see him off in the gravel trap in practice a couple of times. Maybe not jumping in with the most amount of practice. I know obviously he's helped build these cars. But still, Josh Webber. Oh, Webster an aggressive lunge at the final corner. Makes that one stick. We're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, that last corner is certainly a good place to overtake, because the natural race line, you want to go a little bit wide to get a good exit, but that just leaves the room for someone to send it down the inside, as we've now got Foyle coming back down the inside of Webb, who's done a switchback. That's a really good switchback there. Look at that, coming up to turn number 2 now. He should have the move done on the brakes easily as well. Awesome switchback there. And that's just what this track is all about. It's all about those lines. They're very important because you need to get every advantage that you can, as it is so tight.
David Carter moving up the order up into 12th position from 17th. Missed out on a podium back in Silverstone, but not by very much. There is Daniel Rowbottom, who is now coming under pressure from Mr. Dan Kell. Dan Kell raced around here not too long ago against Colin Turkington, so I'm pretty sure he won't be fazed by racing Daniel Rowbottom at the moment. It's just another name. It's just another driver. Sorry, it's not a pro or anything. It's all good. You've really got to remove that from your mind, by the way, when you're racing these guys. You have to be like, I don't care that you're a pro, that you're this, that you're other. You could be Lewis Hamilton, doesn't matter to me. I'm here to race, and you're my opponent. And
that is what he's actually trying to do here down the inside. Looks like he's got his car alongside, but actually, no, it's not quite good enough on the mid part of the corner. And if he battles too hard, he's got about 3 cars behind him looking to overtake as well. As we had a bit of batting there just behind them as well, with Brandon Abraham involved there in 17th position. So it doesn't matter, it's for these lower parts of the track. They're still going side by side, coming through the last part of the track into Clearways. It looks like Abraham will still have a chance coming out of Clearways. Is he going to make that move? It looks like he has. So that's a pretty good move all over the curb on the inside, and he's managed to make that work on David Simon.
Yeah, I think David Simon, it's his first time in Server 1 because he wasn't here last time in the top split, but Brandon Abraham was and showed some good pace in it. Maybe outside of the points at the moment, it's not where he would have expected or wanted to be. That current final point being held on by Dan Kell. There is not long left. So we're actually halfway through this race. So we had a fair amount of action going on.
Wow.
Look at that gap.
That gap. That is amazing.
It's 4.6 seconds that Jack Keighley is leading. Now, the thing is for those of you that might think, oh, I'm going to tune off, I'm not really bothered about this, wait for race 2. Because Keighley is going to have to start from 10th position if he does end up winning this race, which is looking pretty likely. That pace from 10th place, oh, we've got a barnstormer in, surely.
Yeah, just like Matt Richards did in the second race back at Silverstone National last weekend. He managed to get up to, I think it was 3rd on the first lap or something like that. He got right up the field after winning that first race there in Silverstone on that occasion. So I wonder if Jack can do something like that. We see there's plenty of room for overtaking here, despite it being very tight. And I just say, with that pace advantage, he might be able to make some nice moves happen, as we're now looking at this fight for second place. Chris Shepherd, Ryan Elliott, they're just sort of following each other around at the moment. Chris is also in that Audi, which is looking pretty decent here at Brands Hatch, 1st and 2nd at the moment. And Ryan is trying to keep up the best he can. But so far, he can't quite get on the back of that. Look at all these Lincoln Co's behind him.
Yeah, we've got quite a few Lincoln Co's. It's the favoured car in the British RaceRoom Touring Car Challenge. We're looking backwards then from Ryan Elliott towards Matt Richards. Richards to cross, apologies. We are on board with Matt Richards, and of course, yeah, this is very, very important because should that position change... Oh, Matt Webb's been off into the wall. Oh, dear. Yeah, that battle, though, was between the 2 championship protagonists, so things getting pretty tight. Wonder how much damage is on the car there for the Alpha. Dropping all those positions down, the final points paying position. I'd assume he might be dropping back a bit further. It does look like he's going to drop outside the points. That is a massive shame for Matt Webb, having to really wrestle that Alpha around these circuits at the moment.
He was looking pretty feisty earlier on as well, wasn't he? So he's obviously pushing as hard as he absolutely can to try and get that Alpha up the field. As you say, 16th place, no points just for the moment. But yeah, that Ryan Elliott, Matt Richards battle is quite important as they're only 3 points apart after the first race of the season. We've now got PLM P12 here going side by side.
It's Rowbottom. Daniel Rowbottom threw it down the inside of Paddock Hill. Now he's going to maybe try the inside of Druids, going to maybe pick to the outside of Druids. That was a good attempt at Paddock Hill, but just not quite enough. And if he gets too aggressive on the back end of Daniel Miles, then he's going to come under threat from Dan Kell directly behind. It's a Dan battle.
Yeah, there's a couple of Dans, quite a few Dans in the touring car world, it seems. As we're coming up to the final 7 minutes, that's probably about 9, maybe 10 laps left of this race, but those laps go by quickly as we are watching this battle for 13th position currently. Look how tight it is. All the slipstream coming up to Paddock Hill Bend, but it looks like Rowbottom can't quite get a move on this occasion. Well, maybe down into Druids as he gets a pretty decent line there, but again, actually he's just a little bit too far away at the moment.
We've got 5 Dans on the grid. We've got 3 Davids. It's madness. Madness. Of course, Dan Cammish, Dan Kell, Dan Rowbottom, Dan Miles. Yeah, there's a fair few Dans. Who's the other one? Dan Hurlock. There's the other one. It's ridiculous. It's just a lot. Now we've got Ross, Cross, and Cross. Now we've got all the Dans.
It must be a name. As soon as your child is born, you just know he's going to be a racing driver. You've got to call him Dan. That must be what it is for quite a few of these drivers. We're looking at one of Dan's here, 8th place, Dan Cammish, doing a solid job there in 8th position. We've got Webb now coming back down the inside of who is that?
Brandon Abraham. Yeah, back into the points.
Make a move there. And he's defending pretty well as well. So that was a solitary point for Webb at this moment in time. But yeah, he's looking pretty feisty today, just making a couple of mistakes into, well, as we saw in Paddock Hill Bend where he went off, but also into Clearways, he was making a few mistakes as well. So maybe for race 2 and 3, if he could just calm down a tiny bit, he might be able to get some decent results there.
Yeah, it was a solid move for that solitary point at Paddock Hill, but he's going to have to do a lot of work to defend it. Of course, Abraham behind and David Simon in that Audi. It's going to be pretty hard to defend. Currently on that reverse grid pole, though, goes the way of Josh Webster, who's in 10th position at the moment, courtesy of Matt Webb falling off. So that could be a very crucial reverse grid pole for the pro driver of Josh Webster.
Yeah, reverse grid is always that important place that you want to get to. But then for race 3 again, we have the reverse grid for a second time. So you need to make sure you're also in the top 10 in race 3 as well. So it's always a race where you need to be pushing as hard as you can to get into that top lot, as we're now looking at Matt Richards, who's dropped off the back of Ryan Elliott a little bit, and he's defending from Rob Cross. It looks like these two are going to be on the podium as it stands. The podium drivers seem to be looking pretty good at this moment, but Matt Richards is having to defend like he did in Silverstone, though on this occasion this is for 4th place and not the win, but he did do a lot of defending in Silverstone and he was actually pretty good at it.
Yeah, the thing is, though, of course, that is big for the championship between those two. Here, though, we've got a bit of a fun battle. Remember when I said that it was going to be the battle between those tuners? Here we go. James Cross, Rob Oldman, going to go into combat here in the final 5 minutes of the first race here at Brands, and both in Audi, so everything is very equal. Come on, boys, put on a good show.
Right, look how fast they're pushing. They're going right off the track there for Oldman at turn number 1. Obviously, doesn't want to go too wide and get into that gravel. It's actually gone a bit deep there into Druids. You can see just how much they're pushing, even though it's for 21st and 22nd place in this race. You obviously want to get as high as you can and potentially get one up on your rivals.
When there's something to play for, when you've got an actual rival, like I say, these two going head to head. You just don't want to be behind them, like that's the thing, is it doesn't matter whether it's for the final point for the world championship, whatever. I just don't want to finish behind the guy. So Rob Oldman, come on, get your laps together. He's got more experience in this car. He did the previous round. We're expecting some high things of you, Robert Oldman. Oh, it's a good run though out of Paddock Hill. He's going to maybe look down the inside. No, committed on the brakes. James Cross is going to hang on. Fantastic stuff. I think at the top end, we've got Ryan Elliott here now trying to battle for second position. Of all people who may have been looking after his tyres a bit better, I would not say that trait goes very handily towards Ryan Elliott. But today, it seems like he is very much in control of those tyres. That is a very good point, Rob Fisman, who's doing the broadcast moment. It doesn't really go the way of Shepherd either, which is a very fair point. Both of them fairly aggressive drivers. Oh no, Robert Oldman's been off at the final corner. Ah.
Oh, what what a shame. Yeah, still not any points for Robert Oldman, unfortunately. But yeah, as we come on to the final few laps of this race, it looks like Chris Shepherd having to defend a bit harder now. Though Ryan Elliott actually dropped off in the second half of that previous lap. As I think we're going to have possibly 4 laps left of this race. And that is what Chris Shepherd needs to defend. Or is this Webb getting another position?
Wow, that car may not be that broken after going off at Paddock Hill a few laps ago. Is now going to take 2 points heading into that very same corner and now passes Dan Kell. So moving his way back up the order, a bit of a charge. Is Dan Kell going to look down the inside or is he going to save that final point? I think Kell will be all right with that. Robot on the next car, the next target for the Alpha, and showing pretty well at the moment considering it should be pretty broken.
Yeah, he obviously managed to, well, not to damage it too much when he, I think he did actually hit the barrier fairly decently, but obviously he managed to hit it at a nice enough angle that he can keep his car going, get a few points on the table. He's currently 11th place in the standings with 12 points to his name. There'll be a couple more coming his way after this race as well, as we look at JJ Ross, who's only on 9 points, 13th in the standings for JJ at the moment. But 7th place will be some decent points as well. Also, won't be too much ballast for the next race.
I think for him, it's more about thinking obviously he lost 6 points, courtesy of an incident between himself and Dan Kell back in Silverstone. Currently 7th position, he's going to be making a big improvement on that tally. And to be fair, even that, he lost 6, so he would have only scored 15 points. Oh no!
Absolutely wide there. Yeah,
that's another commentator's curse.
Yeah, he just got a little bit too much on the curb. He's lost a position there, down to 8th place. That is. So yeah, not ideal for him, has to be said, but that's just the little mistakes that can happen if you go off and just get that front wheel or rear wheel onto the grass.
That is what a DDF racer would call a freebie for Dan Cammish. So a fresh position for him, and up to 7th. When he gets reversed, it should be to 4th place then. And to be fair, showing some very credible pace at the moment here is Dan Cammish. We're going to have 1 lap after this, and unchallenged, nearly 9 seconds clear at the top of the field. This man, Jack Keithley, what a drive!
Yeah, that is pretty amazing. That's 2 or 3 tenths a lap he's getting on absolutely everyone, which is pretty crazy. But that is just the experience and talent that he's got. Webb's come down the back, down the inside again. He's tried that about 3 or 4 times in this race, and he might actually be able to get himself past Rowbottom up into 13th place, despite being down to 16th about 6 or 7 laps ago. Like I say, we'll be coming on to the final lap of the race. There's only about 6 more corners for these guys before they get to the end of the first race here.
Yeah, how the next race is going to pan out is going to be very interesting. A bit of lapped traffic. I believe that is Oldman in between this. So we're currently looking at Chris Shepherd coming up towards through Surtees and then into Clearways. At the moment, though, towards the top end of the field, a faultless, superb drive from the driver that we did expect it to come from. Jack Keithley comes out on top in the 4th race of the British RaceRoom Championship Touring Car Challenge. A fantastic and well-deserved drive for him, but he has to do a lot of work in the next race to make his way up from 10th place. It is going to be Chris Shepherd and Ryan Elliott to round out the podium. That man put some pace to good use, and up to 7th position he goes, courtesy of that mistake in the latter parts from James JJ Ross. William Foyle and Josh Webster are going to round out that top 10, and for Webster that is important. Ignore that. For Webster that's important though, because obviously he is going to go onto the reverse grid pole, Cam.
And that is going to be a really good opportunity. So unfortunately, David Carter in 11th place missed out on that one. So yeah, he's going to have to try and do something special to get into the top points for the next race. But yeah, once again, as we said, there's going to be the reverse grid after race 2 as well. There'll be another ballast as well. So plenty of action to come for. And you don't have to worry about Jack Keithley dominating those 2 races either.
Indeed. Well, we're going to take a short break between the races, so don't go anywhere because race 2 will be coming up very shortly after this. I will do it after the results. That makes a lot more sense. I think we're waiting for a couple of people to still come across the line. Either way, I don't think there's any doubt that Jack Keithley was very much on top of that race. We were robbed of that battle between James Cross and Robert Oldman, but near enough. I think he's the last one that needs to cross the line to finish, and across he doth come. And are we going to get the results now? We do indeed. So Jack Keithley from Chris Shepherd and Ryan Elliott, the two championship protagonists. It was Richards who is the championship leader ahead of Rob Cross. Dan Hurlock not too far behind, and then Cammish, JJ Ross, William Foyle and Josh Webster rounding out that top 10. Of course, like you say, Carter missing out so close, but he is on the cusp of moving his way up. Either way, we'll take that break and then we'll come back for race 2.
KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk.
Well then, welcome back as we're getting ourselves ready for the second race here at Brands Hatch. Dan Cammish, you put in a great drive into 7th position. You can see there having a little chat with the RaceRoom guys. Did a very solid job, and excited to see what he can pull from 4th position. This time didn't have to run away to get water, Cam. He's already got it by him.
And he also has a couple of minutes longer to do that because we grid up pretty quickly in the first race in Silverstone, but it seems that this couple of minutes is just letting everyone have a little chill just for a minute before we head into to race 2, where we'll obviously see the reverse grid, and we'll have to see Jack Keithley coming from 10th position to see what he can do. We know he won the race by sort of 9-10 seconds, so he's got that pace advantage, but he's going to have to use that while overtaking the 9 cars ahead of him.
Yeah, it's going to be a much trickier challenge for Jack Keithley, but I still would put him down as definitely in the top sort of like 2 or 3 favourites to win this race. But Jack Keithley is kind of an aggressive driver. Kind of, you know. I mean, those of you that have watched RaceRoom for a while, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Maybe he might rustle a few feathers coming up the grid that might, twist people the wrong way. You can see Cammish there getting his gloves on and getting ready. It's going to be a quality race.
Yeah, as we saw, maybe lap 1 wasn't going to be where all the overtakes happened, but certainly in the race, I mean, we probably saw 20 or 30 overtakes throughout the whole field, and that was just the ones that we saw as well. Because there's actually, which is a bit surprising, there's actually plenty of overtaking opportunities on this track. It seems the drivers are finding all the little gaps And as you say, I wouldn't be surprised if he does win this race, but he's still going to have to come through a lot of cars to make that happen.
Well, either way, we'll find out now. As starting on the reverse grid pole is Josh Webster from William Foyle. The lights will be on ahead of them, and we'll be underway for the second race here at Brands Hatch as we head down towards Paddock Hill. Once again, it is going to be William Foyle who has the best start off that front row, and he's going to take the lead in the VW down into turn 1. Oh, it's quite a healthy launch from him. Dan Cammish does manage to hang on to 4th position. JJ Ross directly behind. Now going to snake their way over to the right-hand side of the circuit, diving down the inside. Or a few Lincoln Co's going up the inside. Who's that? Who's off the road? I think it might be Dan Hurlock, who's in trouble at Druids. Either way, it's a fresh position for some of those. Rob Cross, who is ahead of Matt Richards. There is Dan Kell, as Rob Cross is going to be all over the back of Dan Cammish and coming down the back straight. Oh no, I think it's Matt Richards rather, who's all over the back of him. Dan Cammish trying to find his way onto the podium as we lose the behind the trees. Who is ahead of who coming down towards the final corner? Once again, it looks like a pretty clean start, but this time Dan Cammish is trying to get onto the podium. He's up the inside of JJ Ross. Is he going to hang on? I don't think so. I think the Honda might have the advantage and the slipstream. Whoa.
Oh, yeah. They're trying to get as many opportunities as they can, but there wasn't quite so many overtakes, but it's certainly setting us up for a really good race. Look at this massive battle that we're going to have here for the race lead, as now we got a couple of people trying to go side by side down into turn number 2. So all these Lincoln Co's got to work out which one is Rich coming down. I think it's Matt Richards coming down on the inside of turn number 3. So Rob Cross coming on the inside of Matt Richards in turn number 3 as well, and Jack Keithley is behind them already up into 7th place.
Yeah, but this is for the championship though, isn't it? Between Rob Cross and Matt Richards. Matt Richards is going to gain that position, so any advantage, but Rob Cross is going to throw it back down the inside. Jack Keithley though is going to spin in the background, holds the throttle down, saves the car, potentially going to lose a position to Lincoln Co of Ryan Elliott, but that was a mighty save. Rob Cross did get back ahead of Matt Richards there, so it is tight margins between those two who are fighting for the championship. At the top end of the field though, we've got the VW of William Foyle currently leading from Josh Webster. This is down the inside. There is Ryan Elliott on the outside, Jack Keithley back on the inside, maybe a little bit of a rub between the two. I think Jack Keithley might have the advantage coming down and towards Druids, but late on the brakes, Ryan Elliott is going to go and maybe try and stick it around the outside. Has there been contact again between Richards and Cross, but Richards is now ahead. Jack Keithley is going to get ahead of Ryan Elliott, so Matt Richards ahead of Rob Cross, Keithley ahead of Elliott, and Shepherd behind all of that.
Oh, yes, massive battle. They're all in Lincoln Co's and Audis, which is quite interesting. So that's obviously the choice 2 favourites of these cars. As we now head on to, I think it's the 3rd lap of the race. Foyle still leading the way. It's got actually a little gap there from Webster, so he's looking pretty comfortable at this moment in time as they come to start another lap. Yeah, so what about this switchback that we're seeing through these turn number 1 and 2 sections, and even into turn 2 and 3 as well? That seems to be where lots of these drivers are making these opportunistic moves.
Yeah, that was a very solid start.
Too
wide, a little bit of contact there between himself and Josh Webster. I think Josh Webster's going to be headed back to the lead, and he is indeed trying to fire it down the inside. Comes Dan Cammish all over the back of the VW, and I think he's going to gain that position then on JJ Ross, who's going to have to snake their way back over to the left-hand side, maybe to pull a bit of a defensive move in towards Surtees, up towards Clearways, the very final corner of the circuit. Josh Webster now going to lead Dan Cammish back down the inside of the VW. Maybe a touch of contact between the two of them. They're going to be side by side up towards the line. Who is Webster going to favour for the slipstream? I think he's going to pull it back down the inside, and the Lincoln Go of Dan Cammish is going to go up into 2nd position as we head towards Paddock Hill. Once again, William Foyle from the lead, maybe down into 3rd position. It is going to be 3rd after that crucial mistake at Druids. We're going to go for a beautiful cutback. Oh, that is sensational. Back to the inside, coming up towards the very up towards turn 2 again. Wow, that was brave stuff from that cutback. A nice little lunge as well. Where's Cammish going to go? Is he going to fire it back down the inside of Graham Hill? No, he's not. So 3rd position goes the way of Cammish. Wow.
Yeah, and in the background, Keithley's getting past Rob Cross as well, up into 6th place. He's still going side by side. We come to the final couple of corners of the lap. He's pushing him all over the grass, so Keithley's going to have to go round the outside. And then we've got Chris Shepherd, I think, being overtaken in the background as well. But Keithley, has he been able to make this move? Sticky's going to have to go all the way round the outside and see if he can get his car length ahead, which I think he has done there for 6th position. I think he's finally made that move stick after a couple of laps. But it's good to see these drivers are battling for a number of corners in a row when they are battling.
Yeah, and Richards has gone down the inside of JJ Ross. Now he's going to have to defend from him coming up towards Druids as JJ's looking down the inside. That is going to be a position headed the way of Matt Richards. He's now going to try and pick up Dan Cammish coming down towards Graham Hill Bend. That was a very robust move from Jack Keithley. Maybe he's going to try and go for a cutback from Matt Richards. All over the rear end, a little bit of contact there between himself and the 4-time British Touring Car Championship race winner. all over the curbs in the final couple of corners. Maybe a little bit too much contact there for Matt Richards, unsettling the rear end as JJ Ross is trying to fire it down the inside. They're going to be 3 wide onto the start-finish straight. Muscled Dan Cammish out of the way. Did Matt Richards there. He is going to gain that position. He is going to be onto the podium as he is trying to run away from Jack Keighley. Where is JJ Ross going to go? Going to try and pick the outside, maybe go for a cutback back down the inside. Look at that wide, beautiful wide line from Jack Keighley. Going to carry all of the speed. They're going to be side by side up towards Druids. Going to commit to the outside. A little bit of contact between the two. He's done the move on JJ Ross. Going to try and pick Dan Cammish as well. Wow, that was late on the brakes. Oh, look down the inside. Who's that? Is that Ryan Elliott, who's now trying to pick up JJ Ross? This is aggressive stuff. Look at the difference, though, between Matt Richards and Rob Cross, the two for the championship. Rob Cross down in 8th position. Matt Richards up to the podium.
Yeah, that's an unbelievable set of circumstances that we're seeing. Everyone taking just every opportunity. Keithley did that awesome move into turn number 2, took all the speed through turn number 1, got that overspeed, and that's the smart factor that he has in the battling, and he's actually coming down the inside again. Another move in turn number 1. Ooh, not that much room given to him by Cammish there through turn number 1, which means he's actually going to have to now defend. Coming with this Ryan Elliott into turn number 2. I think he's actually managed to make that work on the outside. It's crazy how close these drivers are getting to each other and how far they're pushing each other to the limits. And more contact on the inside of turn 3 as Keithley's going to get pushed out onto the grass there, but manages to keep that position for now. But Ryan Elliott is now going to come under attack as well around the outside, so still more positions being always going to come onto the grass.
There goes Ryan Elliott. He's going to be careful to dodge that barrier as well. Ryan is also a very, very, very aggressive driver as well. Found out in my tenure in sim racing. Needless to say, dropping a few positions there whilst trying to be over aggressive. This is what I said about Jack Keighley maybe coming through the order, rustling a few feathers. Certainly rustled those of Ryan Elliott at the top end though. Josh Webster leading, but not by very much over the VW of William Foyle. These two, I think, are trying to work together a little bit to try and build a gap on the rest of the field whilst they're battling. Dan Cammish is now going to try and pick his fight with Matt Richards, championship leader. Going to go for a cut back, and it's not going to really work on the run down towards Surtees once again. Keithley's coming though.
And Keithley's absolutely coming. He's doing a pretty good job up into 5th place at the moment. And just news on the championship, 3rd place in the championship before the race 1 that we had a couple of minutes ago. Dan Herlock, he was down in 12th position. Actually, he might have dropped down to 13th position. So he's really not getting many points as we speak, as Matt Richards is obviously fighting for a podium here today.
Yeah, down the inside, Dan Cammish looking pretty aggressive himself. Obviously had that fairly aggressive defensive move on Jack Keighley, who's going to fire it down the inside of Druid's corner. There's going to be contact between the two. Is Jack Keighley going to muscle his way through here? I think he may well do so, but Dan Cammish won't like that one bit and will say, oh, maybe you do that to me now. I'll maybe give you your own at another corner at a later date. We'll mark that in the notebook. Thank you very much. Oh, who's that off the road? It's Josh Webster. Josh Webster from the lead of the race. What's happened to him?
Yeah, where's he gone? He must have gone way off the track to go down to 17th place. I know the cars are close together, but that is probably like 10 seconds that he's lost there from an incident. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to have a look at that, but obviously something's happened for him down in 17th place at the moment. It's out of the points as well.
Yeah, I have no idea what's happened to him there, but yeah, dropped down into 17th position. That's 7.5-ish, nearly 8 seconds off of the lead. So goodness knows what's happened to him. Here comes Dan Cammish with a defensive move on Rob Cross, who's now desperately trying to move his way up the order. Chris Shepherd in 6th position has not really moved up at the same rate that I would have expected. Of course, quite an aggressive driver himself. Maybe would have followed Jack Keighley up. We're already, by the way, nearly halfway through the race, and Jack Keighley's up to 3rd position. So it's been a pretty impressive drive, but now he's staring at the back of Matt Richards, who definitely knows how to defend. But with a championship at stake, will Matt Richards fight this that hard? He knows he doesn't have to fight Jack Keighley, because Jack Keighley, with other commitments, we don't think is going to be there at the next round, and also won't be able to close up 58 points, which is that gap that Matt Richards had coming into this round.
Yeah, so that's one thing that Keithley has on his side, because he knows he's got nothing to lose. He might as well just go and send it into every single gap that he sees, and he says to be doing that so far through the first half of race number 2. He's trying to get his cutback. Can he go around the outside of turn 3, or is he going to set it up for the run down to 30? He's no switch back actually down the inside of turn 3. That's a nice switch back, and he might have made this work actually if he can get the exit speed, because he's going to be looking. Oh, they're bumping side by side as they come down to 30s. Then he's going to be on the outside, which is not going to be a good place. He might might be hung out to dry as there's a couple of other cars trying to come down the inside as well. Oh no, he's actually switched back and there's a car on the inside of him as well. I think it's Dan Cammish coming down on the inside as well. So they're going almost 3 wide coming down, but somehow Keithley has managed to make that work, getting past 2 of the Lincoln Co's in the space of 2 corners there.
The 2 Prio ones as well. Oh,
Richards now on the outside.
Oh, Matt Richards is getting feisty here. He's not liking any of the combat that's headed his way. That move from Keithley. Look at all these Lincoln Co's. There was one sideways in the background. I think that might have been Rowbottom, who was sideways in the background. Maybe a little bit of a touch between himself and Ryan Elliott. Wow, yeah, that was pretty feisty from Keithley. A cut back at the final corner. Almost didn't really mind that Dan Cammish was still there. Went for the cut back, forced him off. Oh, that's I thought that was going to be Chris Shepherd fired across the final corner.
Well, he's doing pretty well as well. He's starting in 9th position, up into 5th place at the moment, just behind Matt Richards, and he's having a pretty decent event here today so far. Halfway through race 2, as we got about 9 minutes to go now, and he's obviously in this second Audi as he now tries to defend from, I think it's Rob Cross behind, but Ryan Elliott I think is going around the outside of him. Actually, I think he's gone a bit too deep on this occasion. And I think actually no, Robot got past him there. Oh no, not quite. Robot hasn't quite got past him there, but it's difficult to keep up with all these Lincoln Co's. Obviously, quite a popular car here as we come into Surtees and Clearways for another time. And Keithley's actually got a bit of a gap now for 2nd place. So he, as you said a few minutes ago, might actually be looking at getting a race victory here today.
He's got 1.8 seconds to close up to the back of William Ford, but considering he won the previous race by 9 seconds and we've still got nearly half the race to go, I'd say he's good money for that. We're riding on board with Rob Cross staring at the back of Chris Shepherd. Anyone who tells me the Lincoln Co's the overpowered car, I mean, with that gap that Jack Keithley built in the first race and Chris Shepherd working his way up here, I would very much argue against that. It's just there's a lot of them in the top 10. It's the most subscribed car on the grid. Dan Hurdock's now going to move himself up in the 10th position, getting past Daniel Miles. So now onto the reverse grid pole he goes.
Yeah, the all-important position. I said he was down to about 13th place a few minutes ago, so he's got himself back up into 10th place, and that could be really good because he's obviously pretty quick driving. He might be able to get himself a win in the 3rd race if he can keep himself there, but just look how many cars there are about him. So still plenty of opportunity for things to happen, as we've seen. Who was it? It was Webster, wasn't it? He went off from the lead a few laps ago, and that is the type of thing that can happen. That can throw away all those points and that all-important reverse grid pole.
Yeah, 4/10 on the last lap that was closed. All trying to go around the outside. Rob Cross going to go straight on at Druids. Going to go into the gravel trap and hit the wall. This is big for the championship. This is massive for the championship. He's going to be outside of the points by the time he rejoins the circuit. And Rob Cross now going to drop down to 18th position. He's got Alex Hodgkinson as well, now down to 19th as Hodgkinson storms his way through. Just overcooked it, all of his own volition.
Yeah, it looked like just went a little bit too deep, and that has really not worked out for him, as we now got who's this Rowbottom and Ross coming out of the final corner. Cammish also down into 6th place. So a lot happened on that previous lap. And a lot of people are getting a bit close to each other and starting to make a little bit of a mistake here and there. I think Ross is now on the outside of Rowbottom coming through turn number 1. He's actually managed to make that work. Can he defend to the inside for turn number 2? Yes, he has.
Oh,
there's some more contact there. Cammish. I think Cammish hit the back of, I think it was Ryan Elliott who was in front of him. Certainly like there's a bit of a jolt on the camera there. He's now dropped down into 12th position. He's getting past Matt Webb, who's gone for a little spin there, but he manages to save him. He's going to possibly drop out the points as well. Yeah, everyone's starting to go for all the little gaps and mistakes are starting to happen.
Yeah, we've got Cammish and Carter, I believe it is, who are going side by side. Of course, those did a lot of racing last time. That hit from towards Cammish, I don't think there was actually contact. I couldn't really see it on my screen. I don't actually think there was contact between the two of them, even though, like, I'm not saying that because obviously Cammish did get a pretty hefty whack there, but I think it might have been a little bit of a netcode involved in that one. Foyle, they're going to have to defend now for the race lead. Of course, Jack Keithley behind, I think is going to make short work of this, is the Audi driver, of course. WTCR esports race winner. Jack Keithley's been at the top of racing competition for ages as Keithley, but William Foyle is saying, no, I will defend as good as I can, and as good as you're going to get, good sir. The VW just trying to hang on One of 2 VWs on the grid. I believe Alex Everett is in the other one. The 2 teammates of, I believe it's Crest Autosport that they drive for. The defensive move from there, working at least on this lap on Jack Keighley. So that's, I mean, to be fair, if you defended from Jack Keighley for a lap, that's pretty good work around it.
Oh, and just saw Robot in 10th place. Oh, actually, I think it might have been just a bit of a collection because he went down to 10th place and jumped back up. So I think it's actually just a little bit of a timing update as he went across the line. But it looks like Chris Shepherd as well is looking to get on the podium, to get a double Audi podium for 2 races in a row. He obviously got 2nd place in the first race that we had a few minutes to go. And it looks like, yeah, he's coming for this 3rd place. And it certainly seems that Audi's looking really good around Brands Hatch.
Yeah, it was the favoured car coming into this. Is why a lot of the newcomers have joined in an Audi, or maybe taken a little bit too much speed through Surtees there, picked up the curb just a touch too much. Of course, I mean, Shepherd's not really that far off with the championship, and considering if that car goes into Silverstone and there's a good car there, Matt Richards wouldn't want to relinquish any unnecessary points here today. Oh, look at the aggression on that line. Tail all out, of course, fixed setups here. I think it may be a little bit of a high ping there for Keighley, as he's going to try and stick it around the outside of Druids. I think he might have been able to make that one stick to Jack Keighley. Oh, he's disconnected. Jack Keighley's disconnected.
Wow.
Wow.
That is really unfortunate. That's such a shame. He was doing so good here today. And I believe that can he not join back for race 3 even? Yeah, so that is going to be him out of the event, unfortunately. So that really opens things up, actually, because now Foyle has got a massive gap to Matt Richards. And this is going to give extra points to everyone in the championship as well. That's so unfortunate for Keighley. He was doing so good here today, definitely the class of the field. Yeah, it's a bit of a shame to see him drop out of the race at the moment. So it's now Chris Shepherd, the sole Audi, on the podium at this moment in time. But yeah, that's really unfortunate.
Here's Rowbottom and Herlock. Going to look down the inside as Herlock. That's a pretty standard Herlock move. There's going to be contact between the two. Thought Herlock was going to get a bit aggressive with this one. In front of this as well, we've got JJ and Ryan Elliott now going side by side down towards Graham Hill Bend. JJ holds firm for 4th position, but a nice cut back from Ryan Elliott, and it should be a fairly solid position gain from him heading up towards Surtees. Whilst Rowbottom does hang on from Herlock. With that disconnection, though, that's promoted Dan Cammish onto the reverse grid pole. Oh, going a bit sideways there. That was Rowbottom picking up a little bit of oversteer into the final corner, and Dan Herlock wasn't able to grab anything from it. So you said he was 13th earlier in the race, was Herlock. Has moved up into 7th position. Now looking at the back of 6th as well, and he's going to try and commit to that into Paddock Hill. Oh, that was aggressive.
Wow, yeah, just going for every single gap as we've only got 2.5 minutes left of this race. He needs to try and make every move stick, as he's now definitely got that inside line, and he's just going to push Rowbottom out there on the exit, get his car ahead, and that is a nice move there by Herlock, who's got himself into a pretty decent space at this moment. He's still going to be losing points to Richards, who's getting another nice result in 2nd place, but now we've got Rob Cross coming side by side here with, I think that Everett's they're going side by side with, who's actually just lost out on that corner.
Final point. A final point, but this is going to be big stuff for Rob Cross in his championship. I know he's going to be gaining a point from here, but it's not going to be the reverse grid. Here's the battle for 6th position between Rowbottom and Herlock, as Rowbottom does regain that position. Is back 6th place. What a battle. It's going to be another dive bomb from Herlock in towards Paddock Hill. There's going to be a touch more contact between the two. A bit of oversteer picked up through there, and it's going to be the position back the way of Herlock. Now Dan Kell's going to try and get involved. Oh, Miles! What a braking move. There's contact there between Herlock as he pushes Rowbottom off. My goodness me, this is feisty stuff, Cam. I don't know how to call this. We've got Rowbottom, we've got Herlock, we've got Miles, who's the other Hyundai with the blue front involved in this. We've got Dan Kell, we've got Dan Cammish, and we've got Brandon Abraham at the back of that. And I think as well it's David Carter, who's just on the back of that train. Oh, who's that sideways in the middle of the pack? I think that might be Dan Kell. Picked up a little bit of contact between himself and Cammish. He's now dropped into 11th position and outside of the reverse grid, now down to 12th.
There's only 2 laps left to go for these drivers to make position work. And look at this massive train. And somewhere in that is the reverse grid pole position as well. So plenty to fight for as we come to the last 2 laps of this 2nd race here at Brands Hatch for the Touring Car UK Series here. As we've now got plenty of bumping there coming into turn number 2. Dan Cammish getting right on the back of Miles there, I believe that was in the Hyundai. As they come into turn 3 again. These drivers have only got 1.5 laps to try and make a overtake stick. We've now got is this Herlock and Rowbottom going side by side coming to Surtees. And I think Rowbottom had to back out of that one on this occasion. just the final corner before heading on to the final lap of the race. Oh, someone sideways there.
Is Dan Kell to gain? I don't know who that was, but I think Dan Kell might be able to gain from that. I think it might have been Abraham and Carter and Cammish as well. So P9, look at this between that. So we've got Cammish, Carter, Kell and Abraham side by side up towards the Paddock Hill bend. Oh, who's that slotting into this? Abraham, who's going to try and pick it with Matt Webb, trying to find his way through. Oh my goodness me, this is absolute madness for this reverse grid pole. It is so very crucial. Dan Cammish in 10th position at the moment. There's going to be contact between himself and Carter. Trying to pick it up down the inside comes Dan Kell. Maybe going to go around the outside of Graham Hill. Dan Cammish in 9th position. David Carter is going to be in that 10th position as they run ride through Graham Hill. It might be Kell hanging on. We'll get back to that in just a moment. Out of the final corner, come courtesy of that disconnection from Jack Keighley, who was hanging on so well anyway. William Foyle is going to come for a very surprised victory. Towards the line he goes and takes top honours for a VW. Chris Shepherd in 2nd, Matt Richards in 3rd. We've got this battle then. So it is currently Dan Cammish who is on a reverse grid pole. Dan Kell is going to grab 9th position on the line. He was going to be absolutely livid after that race if he didn't get that top 10, considering the incident at the final corner. Dan Cammish is going to get 10th, and so for the second race 3 in a row, it is going to be Dan Cammish on the front row of the reverse grid.
And that race was absolutely hectic, wasn't it? Especially for the lower parts of the top 10 there. David Carter just missing out. He's going to be kicking himself for that because he was 11th in the last race as well, wasn't he? I believe. Yep. So twice he's missed out on that reverse grid, which is pretty unfortunate. But here, just confirmation of the results. As you can see, all the drivers down there. So close, even after 20 minutes. It's looking pretty close for all of these drivers. And yeah, Foyle there getting a pretty good result after Webster finished down in 15th place, having crashed from the lead of the race.
Indeed, well, it's a big swing in the championship, and I hope you won't go anywhere between now and race 3. Before then, we're just going to take a short break.
KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk.
Well, race 6 of the championship coming up, and race 5 of it was absolutely incredible. The second race here at Brands Indy threw everything up in the championship, and very much threw everything in the favour of Matt Richards for that title. But of course, still 4 races to go in the championship. Once we leave here after this race, we head to Silverstone International for that final on the 10th of May. Is going to be a big one, and it's not a circuit we use particularly often in touring car racing, but I have done myself a little bit of racing around there, and believe me, it is a good circuit for these kind of racing. Maybe even arguably better than Silverstone National, but that's an opinion.
Yeah, it's one I like as well. I'm looking forward to the Silverstone International, something a little bit different, and as you say, new to the touring car racing. So I have to see what that is like next week, where we still have one more race here today. where we will we'll see some pretty close racing as we saw in that second race. Everyone is starting to get a little bit crazy. Plenty of strong, aggressive overtaking moves, especially down to turn number 2. Plenty of contact between these drivers as we start to grid up for race 3. But I expect there to be just as close battle here for the final race here at Brands Indy.
Just grabbed 10th place on the line there, did Dan Cammish, and is going to start that one then from reverse grid pole ahead of Dan Kell, who came up corners short of a race victory at race 2 of the championship back in Silverstone National. His teammate of Dan Kell being Matt Richards overtook him with 2 laps to go, if I remember correctly, coming down into Maggots. And so I'm pretty sure he'll be looking to rectify that. I'm sure Red Trevelyan Johnson, team boss of Zanshow Simsport, will be watching us at the moment and keeping an eye on his team. Maybe not gone quite as strongly for them this round as it did a week ago, but nevertheless the race about to get underway, and Dan Cammish with an excellent opportunity to take a victory here, but Dan Kell alongside will be brutal off of the start. We're about to go racing here for the final race at Brands Hatch, and we are underway, and it is a very good launch from Dan Cammish. Dan Kell didn't really get anywhere, but Daniel Miles, Dan at the top end of the field. All 5 Dans are at the top, my goodness. What a shock. Either way, yeah, Cammish there gets away clear, and Kell going to try and fire it down the inside. Oh, Dan Cammish has gone wide. He's gone wide at turn Druids at turn 2. Just a mistake of his own volition. Gone straight on and drops 2 positions. One to Kell, one to Miles. Now battering Herlock out of the way, who's trying to fire his way up onto the podium positions. JJ Ross as well, trying to get involved in this. Ryan Elliott, Matt Richards, who's already gained a couple of positions. William Foyle and Chris Shepherd. So Foyle's made a decent start as well. Dan Cammish, what a mistake.
And Rowbottom followed him as well. He's dropped down to 15th place, just got up to 14th place past Matt Webb as well. So 2 of the Lincoln Co's going off there in turn number 2 as they went on to the first lap. But yeah, plenty of action still coming as who's that? Herlock getting past Cammish for 3rd place at this moment in time as well.
Such a bold move there from Herlock. He's going to have to defend the inside. There's going to be near contact between himself and Cammish, who's now going to pick it up. Look at how far wide they drift off the apex there whilst they're trying to defend that tight line. It really tightens up on the apex and pushes them all off. We're looking backwards from Herlock towards Cammish, towards Ryan Elliott, who's made up his way to 5th position at the moment. I would suspect Ryan Elliott is going to be good money to move up onto the podium, because he's going to be mighty aggressive. This is on board with Cammish looking at Ryan Elliott. We can see Ryan Elliott's basically the entire front of his car, very, very close to the back of Dan Cammish. Absolutely nothing between the two of them. Watch Elliott for maybe an aggressive dive bomb either into Paddock Hill or at least down towards Druids Corner. What's going to happen here? Is it going to be inside? Is he going to go for it? Yes, he is. Committed late on the brakes. Ryan Elliott down the inside. Whoa! JJ Ross slide off into the barrier. That's a mighty crash.
Wow, he turned left to the right-hand corner. I don't know if there was contact there made, but he went absolutely straight head on into the barrier.
The only way you have a crash like that is through someone contact spinning. It was just someone, I think, unweighted the rear left of the car, spun him straight towards the wall. That is a mighty, mighty crash. Oh, who's that? Who's disconnected?
I couldn't quite see who it was.
It was Richards. It was Richards who's disconnected.
Championship leader.
That is massive for the championship. He did say that, we did notice that he was having internet connection issues yesterday at least. But a disconnection goes the way of Matt Richards. Now Rob Cross. We said everything in the previous race swung towards Matt Richards. Now everything in this race has swung towards Rob Cross. This is madness.
Yeah, this is just how everything can... That's just how everything can change in the matter of a couple of corners. And we had, unfortunately, Keithley drop out as well. So two of the, arguably 2 fastest guys that we have here today have both gone. So this leaves the opportunity for someone else to get a good result here. I'm going to say Chris Shepherd, good opportunity for him, but he's down in 7th place at the moment, thanks to that reverse grids. But he still has about 60 minutes to get his way back up into the higher point scoring positions. Although he's just losing a place here potentially to David Carter, who's had a fairly exciting couple of races himself, although he hasn't quite been in the top points just yet, missing out on the reverse grid by just 1 place in the first 2 races. But 8th place is doing pretty good for him at the moment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Carter wouldn't have been too much expected racing with Shepherd at this point in his sim racing career, because they have raced with each other a few times before, many moons ago. But David Carter going through a little bit of a renaissance in his sim racing career, with Chris Shepherd right around him. I would say for Chris Shepherd, as was pointed out, he came into this round 5th in the championship after not having the strongest Silverstone, but having a decent Silverstone. Comes into this, has 2 second places, and now with a retirement going the way of Matt Richards, and 16 minutes to go in this race, he could make up some big points in this championship and maybe move himself into a challenging position heading into that final round. Top end of the field, though, we've got a Lincoln Co leading 2 Hyundais at the top end, leading another couple of Lincoln Co's. It's a pretty healthy margin the top 3 have over the rest of the field, but Miles trying to find his way through at some point, you would assume. If not, Daniel Hurlock is going to go through. There's a bit of contact between the two. Hurlock's going to pick it around the outside as Miles makes a little bit of contact on the rear end of Kell's car. Now Hurlock down the inside into Graham Hill Bend. It should be a pretty easy move from that position, and Hurlock moves up a place.
Yeah, that's a really nice move there. He almost got pushed out on the outside of turn number 2. He managed to make that work into turn number 3. It's a really nice section of corners there where you can actually defend and then attack again into turn number 3. Which is exactly what he did there. Really good. And Cammish is now getting quite close behind Miles as well. That could have opened the door for potentially Cammish getting on the podium here.
I think the door is very much open for everyone getting onto the podium at this point in the race. We've got Matt Webb here at bottom end of the top 10. David Simon as well, who's now moved up into that. So Matt Webb recovering some points at least from this round. We've got Rob Cross now, who's trying to defend off David Carter, or maybe get by rather David Carter. So a position for him. Carter, oh VW, that's round for Foyle. That's round for Foyle.
That's he's made a bit of contact over the Honda.
Yeah, we won't talk about that rejoin. It should have been a reverse gear, good sir.
There's so many drivers made a couple of mistakes here today, but we do know the Brands Indy is a very tricky circuit. And just another person going for a spin there.
This car of Kia Riley making Server 1 debut, not in the best position, missing the entire front end, but yeah, you should never accelerate towards the racing surface like that. It's very, very scary. Either way, towards the top end of the field, Dan Kell going to have to defend from Dan Hurlock. These two of touring cars best on RF2. So to see them fighting at the top end of the field here is pretty incredible. If Ryan Elliott gets involved in this, then we've got 3 from the top end elsewhere in sim racing, and great stuff it will be. But they've got to defend from Daniel Miles and from 4-time British Touring Car Championship race winner Dan Cammish as well. It is Dan at the top end of this field, which isn't confusing at all, is it?
Yeah, and as I said, Rowbottom dropped down. He went actually down to 18th place or 19th place, but he's got himself back up into 16th place just to let you know where he is. But now we've got Hurlock trying to get all the way around the outside, or is he actually going to try and make a switchback? No, he's going to keep it there around the outside, so this could work if he's he's gone a bit too wide, unfortunately, and that could give Miles the opportunity to get side by side as well. So we might go 3 wide into turn number 2, and actually, unfortunately, there's no contact there. They have both slipped through, so Hurlock has gone down into 4th place as Cammish and Miles slipped through there. So not the best turn one for Hurlock, but he did try to get the lead, just went a little bit too far.
Well, with 30 minutes to go in the race, you've got to try something, and if you're desperate for that victory, you might as well. Chris Shepherd now has moved up into... Oh no, I think they just switched on the timesheet, and we saw that before. Ryan Elliott is in 5th position, and Chris Shepherd is in 6th. At the moment, this is looking backwards from Daniel Miles towards the eyes of Cammish. You can see him on the right-hand side, going to be wrestling that car through Paddock Hill once again. Controversial choice to sim race in shoes. I don't know about you, Cam. I can't race in shoes.
That is often a debated subject too, also with gloves, racing gloves and that sort of stuff.
Gloves make sense. Gloves make sense. I do get that because you don't want the gunk on your wheel. I get that. Shoes, though, is a bit more of a controversial topic because it's just like, do you? Don't you? I get why you would if you've got like a really, really heavy brake pedal, which of course I would assume Cammish has got. But on my G27 pedals, I don't think you really need a shoes to force that down.
It's probably also what he's used to as well, having driven the obviously the real life cars. And I'm sure they are some sort of flat, thin bottom shoes where you can get a nice, good feel on the brake pedal. But that is all driver preference. I mean, some people obviously drive with like glasses as well and that sort of stuff to help the glare off the computer screen and that sort of stuff. But that is what you can do as well. Actually, as Miles goes a little bit slow there, and Hurlock has managed to get onto the podium. A bit of contact, so he's going to get 2 positions here.
That was less than amicable between the two. Let's go with that one. Both Miles and Cammish ran wide at T1, allowing Herlock through with maybe a little bit of a boff. In the background, you saw Ryan Elliott and Chris Shepherd as well. We're on board with Shepherd now, who's trying to find his way through the Lincoln Co. Maybe going to dive it down the inside of the final corner. Didn't feel it was quite right there. Shepherd's definitely sniffing his third consecutive podium here at Brands Hatch and taking the biggest advantage of this Audi that he's got. We've got Elliott now trying to go around the outside of Cammish. That race that I spoke earlier where Dan Cowell battled with Colin Turkington, well, that event was won by Ryan Elliott. So obviously he is not scared to go toe-to-toe with some of Britain's best. Now going to fire it down the inside. Oh, I think that was Carter off or Rob Cross off in the background, or rather foreground of that shot anyway. That is the position done though for Ryan Elliott up into fourth position. There's contact now between Cammish. He wasn't happy with that at all. Getting slowed up by Daniel Marston. They're all weaving across the road. Dan Cammish is not going to be happy with that. He felt that he was there. Now gets a little bit of a slip from Ryan Elliott. This is going to get feisty. This is going to get very big boy feisty.
It's just like what we saw at the end of race number 2, and it's all the same cars as well, because obviously he just got reversed for this race. And yeah, Mars is defending here from all these cars for the final podium position. And it looks like Chris Shepherd having a look in the background on the car as well. So yeah, plenty of action coming here in the final 10 minutes as we just enter the second half of this final race here at Brands Hatch.
This series is genuinely producing some of the most intense hour of racing that I've commentated on in a very, very long time. It's absolute madness. I am loving it. It is so much fun because it's just crazy. I would not want to be in one of these cars right now because it just looks far too much. We've got Carter here who, like I say, for a race series to come back, it is really throwing you in at the deep end. On board with Cammish. Once again staring at the back of Ryan Elliott. You say he won't be too happy at the move that went his way for Ryan Elliott to move on to fourth position, but Ryan Elliott's now closing in on a podium position. Not going to be close enough at Paddock Hill though.
Yeah, and Paddock Hill is where you really need to make sure you get that line correct so you get the good run down into turn number 2. And he's going to have a look down the inside. Oh, Cammish, think about it. He's actually just trying to close up, but you never know when you see a car's width gap. These drivers are just sending it, even if there's half car width. Some of these drivers are sending it down the inside of those corners, as I think Mars just went a little bit wide there. So this could give them opportunity for Elliott to have a think about it into the final corner, depending on how their lines work out through the chicane of Surtees. And actually it's worked out pretty well. All the Cammish is trying to get on the inside. You see, they just see half car width and they just put it there, trying to get every little advantage that they can. Now coming down onto the start-finish straight. Chris Shepherd still sitting here behind them, hasn't been able to make a move just yet, but he's sitting there waiting to pounce as soon as any little gap or little error is made ahead.
The top 2 as well are very, very close whilst all this is going on. Chris Shepherd maybe backing out a little bit, allowing Cammish to do, although he cops a fair whack from David Carter behind as well. Lincoln Co's are all over the place and they're looking a bit bumpy. Oh, I think there's almost a half move towards the front end of the field as Herlock is trying to push his way past on Dan Kell. We just saw that in the front of the image. We now look towards, there's Matt Webb further down the order. There is the move. There is Daniel Kell. There is Daniel Herlock, who's gone super wide at the final corner. Kell was looking maybe uncomfortable in practice, and now all of the weight on his shoulders for Sancho Simsport with Silverstone Composites, and now trying to pick the outside goes Daniel Herlock. This could be for the race lead. This could be absolutely massive for Herlock, who was snubbed the victory last time as Rob Cross led basically every lap in that third race ahead of Herlock. Herlock tried everything to get by but wasn't able to. It's almost the same story here, but these two good friends have raced each other for a very, very long time in sim racing, and Herlock is just not able to get by. Dan Keller's a very, very good defender.
Yeah, and this batting's actually making the pack behind them catch up a little bit as well, so he needs to try and make a move as quickly as possible if he doesn't want this to become basically a seven-way battle for the lead. But it looks like he's actually going to be able to potentially make... Oh, there's two Lincoln goes there. Elliott and Cammish getting side by side with each other, and I think it was Elliott having a bit of a spin at Cammish there on the camera, having a bit of a laugh about that one, enjoying himself here in the third race at Brands Hatch. And it looks like Herlock's now trying to go all the way around the outside. That'd be a brilliant move if he can make that work. And I think he has been able to make that work, although actually it seems like it'll be side by side on the brake pedal as well. So he's going to go all the way around the outside of turn 2. We've seen some people will do it, because that gives you the inside of turn 3 as well. So still side by side after a few hundred meters. And is he going to finally make the move into turn number 3? I think he has. So finally he's made that work, and he's got into the lead of the race. It's just in the background. Cammish managed to get past Elliott for 3rd place as well. So plenty of action happening here as we come up to almost 6 minutes to go of this race.
Yeah, we'll see if Dan Cal can maybe fire someone back, but we ride on board with Dan Cammish, who you saw him laughing his way through the final corner last time, maybe copping a couple of whacks. This time though, still Ryan Elliott is behind him. Maybe there's going to be a move somewhere. Like we said before, Ryan Elliott's a pretty aggressive driver. These two seem to have a bit of fun for the that final spot on the podium behind this. Daniel Miles, Chris Shepherd, David Carter, Rob Cross as well. You can see Chris Shepherd there in the Audi, maybe poking up down the inside of David Carter, who's trying to stick it around the outside. I think he might lose a position to Rob Cross in all of this as we stare back towards that. No, he does not. Everyone stays in position. Matt Webb's also coming back into this. We noticed that 9th position.
Yeah, he's coming back. He's looks pretty good today as well. But obviously, as we said, the Alpha is not potentially the best car on the grid, but he's still doing pretty good to keep it up in there in 9th place. And he's getting onto the back of this pack, so he might be able to get himself some decent points in the 3rd race here. As we got Webster there, who's leading the race. Remember, he's leading that 2nd race with the reverse grid, but then he went off. I think he finished at like 15th place on that race. But now 10th place here, so he's still getting some decent points there.
As is Hodgkinson, who's currently running around in 11th position. Foyle, who was the previous race winner, now running down in 12th position. We've got Christy Abraham and Rowbottom rounding out those points-paying positions. I think Oldman is... he's behind James Cross and quite a way behind. So unfortunately, that battle for between those two is very much not going the way of Oldman. It's very much going the way of Cross. He's been pretty impressive today in comparison. For that, so doing a good job on his debut. Here we go, battle for 3rd position. Ryan Elliott or Dan Cammish might be getting a little bit frustrated in all of this.
You can see him on.
Yeah, he's not.
To get a webcam on Ryan Elliott as well, because these two are having a really feisty battle here for the final podium position as we come through turn number 1, come on to turn number 2. Again, we know Cammish always likes to have a little look down the inside there to see if Elliott goes a bit wide, and he actually has on that occasion. A bit of contact is made. Come through turn number 2, then we come down to turn number 3. Graham Hill bend, awesome little corner. It's just this little kick onto the back straight. Cammish putting everything down, going quite wide there, but cannot get quite side by side at this moment. But he's looking pretty good, although actually he's got a little bit wide there, but that potentially will give him a better exit. I actually know he's lost a bit of time there in general, so that battle is ceased a little bit for now. As I think that are they catching up to the back of Keller a little bit as well.
I think so. I think though with the face that Cammish was pulling, believe me, I have been in that boat with Ryan Elliott more than once in my sim racing career, so I understand how you feel, Dan Cammish. I have been there. I think though the more impressive thing here is that Herlock has not really run away from Kel, so there is definitely a victory opportunity for Dan Kel in all this currently. I know a few people have raced in the series before, but there are various places in sim racing. Of course, the International Touring Cup, where these three have been pretty close. Herlock wasn't a part of that, but they were all fairly close friends throughout their touring car run. So those three on the podium, battling their way through it. This could get a bit dicey as we roll on to 4 laps to go here at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. Miles now going to try and pick his way around the outside of Dan Cammish. Going to go for a bit of a cutback down the inside. Chris Shepherd maybe feeling a move. Oh, he's looking. He's not committing though. That was a nice defensive drive across the circuit for Daniel Miles. A little bit of a whack from behind though.
Yeah, Chris Shepherd's just been sitting here in 6th place for quite a few laps now. Hasn't been able to make anything work, but the last couple of laps might be the place where he tries to make a move. As we see, he's all over the back now of Daniel Miles. Come up into 30s and then the final corner of Clearways. Can he try and make it move? We know the Audi is pretty good here, but he's trying to get every advantage that he can as Miles goes a little bit wide there. That could potentially give Shepherd the momentum coming down into turn number 1, although it looks like that Hyundai is actually looking pretty good in a straight line.
Yeah, it should be a pretty potent beast as we run down towards Paddock Hill once again. And Daniel Miles just not able to get by Dan Cammish just yet. We've got 1 minute and 40 seconds to go. He is very close. Oh, this might be the best opportunity he's got as they run through Druids and down towards Graham Hill, rather. Chris Shepherd, those down the inside. It's going to be tight, but not quite enough for Chris Shepherd. It's still going to be 6th place. These lot, as much as they are battling as hard as they can, they are not switching positions. Here comes Robert Oldman. This is in 19th position, so going a lap down on your race leader, Dan Herlock, Dan Kell, and Ryan Elliott.
Yeah, these three have gotten away a little bit from 4th place Dan Cammish due to the battling that has happened, and it certainly seems like we're going to see a close fight for not only the 4th, 5th position here, but also for potentially of the lead of the race. And now Miles are trying to go round the outside, then potentially get a cut back to get on the inside for turn number 2, though. Cammish actually defended that pretty well in the mid part of turn number 1. Chris Shepherd is going to try and fill that gap in behind Cammish, which could... Oh no, Miles has actually been pretty quick around the outside there. It was pretty good on the brakes, has to be said. Now coming down to turn number 3. Oh, a bit of contact.
That was...
a lot of contact there, actually, on the entry of turn number 3. A bit more contact on the straight even as well, and he's actually trying to make that work, as Oldman could get involved here with the blue flags, and actually this could get pretty awkward. But actually I think he's managed to get around the outside pretty safely there, so we're coming on to the final lap of the race. Final lap here at Brands Hatch, and Chris Shepherd's gone down the inside as well. Oh, he's had to back out of it though, coming through the kink there onto the start-finish straight.
Yeah, Dan Cammish was not happy with that. One more time around the circuit. Dan Cammish, look at how unhappy he is. He goes for Miles though. Oh, he's going to go off into the gravel trap, and I think Cammish is going to be back up in a 4th position. How you feel about that move is entirely up to you. Interesting is what I will put with that. Oh, I think Miles has then gone off as well, so now down into 10th position at the front end of the field, though. It is going to be a good day for Hyundai, at least, as I don't think Dan Kell is going to be anywhere near close enough, and I don't feel there's going to be a mistake. Is Ryan Elliott going to try anything for the podium and try and make it a 1-2 for those two? Of course, close friends being Herlock and Ryan Elliott, but it's not going to be good enough. Herlock, though, denied in race 3 last time out, but this time he is going to come out on top. Dan Kell is 2nd again. Ryan Elliott is going to round out that podium. Dan Cammish maybe not so happy, but is going to be in 4th position. Hopefully had a little bit of fun, though, in all of that. Chris Shepherd, maybe the title maybe swings in his way, courtesy of that disconnection from Matt Richards. Going to be in 5th position. Then Rob Cross, Carter, Webb, Webster, Miles, Hodgkinson, Abraham, Christie, Rowbottom. Well, we'll wait for the final order to come up, because it's going to get all skew-if as everyone leaves. But what a crazy round there, Cam.
Yeah, that was very hectic, has to be said, but that is exactly what we expected from Brands Hatch Indy. Such close performance, and here just confirmation of the results for Dan Herlock there. But it's actually Ryan Elliott getting the fastest lap, interestingly, down in 3rd position. But yeah, what a couple of races that we, 3 races that we had there. Very exciting, very close racing, as we expect from these drivers. They're just going for every single gap that they could get, and I'm sure that's going to roll on to Silverstone International next weekend as well.
Yeah, like you say, one more round of the season, and that comes around on Sunday in a week's time. Of course, you can go and take part if you wish. You can load up RaceRoom yourself and get onto the leaderboards and come and have a go and see if you can get yourself into the top 20 and join some of the pro drivers here for the British RaceRoom Championship Touring Car Challenge. Either way, thank you very much. Myself, Lewis McGlade, alongside me, Cameron Roger. Thank you massively to Cobra Motorsport. Until next time, we'll see you then.
KW, für jeden Anspruch das richtige Fahrwerk.